The anime begins with a scene from a television show. In it, we see a girl running away from something unknown. When she gets home, she starts seeing grotesque and paranormal beings around her. Afterwards, we hear the host ask his co-host what she would do if she encountered something like that in real life. She replies that she might pretend not to see it or chant Buddhist sutras to protect herself. To this, he comments that this is a very common response in these types of situations. Next, we see the protagonist named Miko entering the living room while listening to the show in the background. However, she doesn't pay much attention to it as she is chatting on her phone with a classmate. At that moment, her brother Kyusuke comes out of the bathroom and informs her that it's clogged, probably due to her hair. Then he realizes they are clearly watching the horror show and asks his sister to watch it with him. Suddenly, we see the refrigerator door open all by itself, but they don't seem to notice. The next day, Miko wakes up and sees a dog from her room's window, barking at a trash can as if it senses something is wrong. The dog's owner pulls it by the leash to continue on their way, as there is actually nothing there. Afterwards, Miko gets ready for school. In the bathroom, they notice the mirror is fogged up with a handprint. Without giving it much thought, she cleans it and continues getting ready for school. Later, her mother and brother see her off at the door, reminding her that rain is forecast for the day and she should take an umbrella. Despite the warning, she assures them that if it starts raining, she will buy one at the store. Finally, we see her father approach to say goodbye, but before she can hear him, she has already left the house. After this, we see Miko in the school hallways. Her friend Hana tries to surprise her by greeting her from behind, but she is unfazed by this action. Noticing this, Hana asks her how she knew it was her who hugged her, and Miko replies that she realized it by the way she squeezed her. At that moment, Hana notices that Miko has bought a limited edition doll from the brand Konlan. She then shows her own, and they both get excited when they realize they have similar accessories. At that instant, a girl named Yuria asks them to get out of the way, so they apologize for being in the middle, and she stares at them, thinking about saying something. However, she ultimately decides against it and continues on her way. In a change of scene, Miko is in class, but her attention is diverted when she sees a ping pong ball rolling by itself outside the window. This distraction causes the teacher to ask her to read a paragraph from the text they are analyzing in class. We then see her day pass without any problems, and she says goodbye to her friend Hana. However, she realizes her purse charm has fallen off, so she decides to go back to school to look for it. Once in the classroom, she finds it under the teacher's desk. And at that moment, the hallway lights begin to flicker, which clearly unsettles her a bit. Later, on her way to the bus stop, night falls and it starts to rain, leaving her soaked. When she gets there, she checks her phone to make sure it wasn't damaged by the water. She sees a message from her friend asking if she got wet in all the rain. She then explains that her keychain was lost and she had to go back to school to find it. Because of this, she got wet and sends a photo along with the message. Suddenly, her friend starts sending her the same photo over and over again. After this, Miko starts to hear her phone go completely crazy, constantly repeating that she doesn't understand what's happening. Meanwhile, the photo is sent multiple times until the face in the image begins to distort. Shocked, Miko drops her phone. She looks from side to side and, after calming down, decides to pick it up. There, she notices a message from her friend saying she will bring her an umbrella. However, she realizes the previous messages that seem to have been sent are now gone, so she feels relieved, thinking she saw all this because she's tired. But when she looks up, she finds a grotesque-looking creature in front of her. Miko is shocked for a moment and trembles, but she decides to ignore it. She can hear the creature asking if she can see it, so she decides the best thing to do is act as if she doesn't. She starts to act carefree and wonders aloud when the bus will arrive. However, the creature gets closer to her and asks, "Can you see me?" In response, she checks her phone to reply to her friend. Therefore, the ghost assumes she can't see it and decides to leave. Later, we see a note on the dining room table. Her mother informs her that she is not home and that her brother will be staying at a friend's house. Subsequently, Miko is in the bathroom getting ready for bed. While brushing her teeth, she remembers the horrible creature she saw, thinking she will surely have nightmares today. Looking in the mirror, she sees the handprint again and decides to clean it, thinking her brother was responsible. However, when she looks up, she sees a man in a suit with a deformed face. He places his hand on the mirror again and twists his neck close to her face while asking, "Can you see it?" This makes her pretend something fell into her eye and act as if she can't see him. She is sure she must not react to him and thinks it's all a product of her imagination. Once she washes her face, she is left thinking how it feels like she's in a horror movie. Still, she believes that once she looks up, she will no longer see the ghost. Unfortunately for her, he is still there, having her cornered in such a way that she can't move. Following this, Miko decides to go to the kitchen to get some salt. Her plan is to place it in the corner of her room, hoping it will ward off evil spirits. She then concludes that, although they are very scary, if she ignores them, they go away after a while. However, the one in the bathroom stayed there for at least 20 minutes. So she decides to go to sleep and search her phone for an article on how to exorcise spirits. As she's about to cover herself, she feels something move under her sheet. She lifts the sheet to see what it is, and to her surprise, she sees the face of a creature on top of her. She immediately lifts her face so the monster can't see her and cries, thinking the salt in the corner of the room didn't work. The next morning, she wakes up, and the first thing she does is check if the creature is still on top of her. Relieved, she realizes it's no longer there, and then heads to the bathroom and the bus stop to confirm that it was all a nightmare, and what she saw the previous night was not real. Afterwards, we see her walking down the school hallway, lost in thought. She analyzes the reason why she saw those horrible things the day before and concludes it must be because she is stressed and tired. Suddenly, her friend Hana surprises her from behind, as she does every day. However, this time, Miko gets so scared she almost dies of fright and begs her not to greet her this way in the future. Puzzled by her reaction, Hana asks if she is okay or if something is wrong. Miko replies that nothing is wrong, but she notices a shadow passing outside the window. She asks her friend if they are on the 3rd floor of the school, and Hana immediately says yes, asking if she hit her head. Miko apologizes, suggesting it was probably a bird she saw, but the creature realizes she could see it and passes through the window to greet her. Then, her impassive expression vanishes, and she is paralyzed by the fact that she can really see it. So Hana asks why she is staring so intently, but the reality is that Miko is not looking at her, but at the creature in front of her. After a while, the creature assumes Miko can't see it and leaves. Meanwhile, Hana feels nervous, thinking she was looking at her that way because she was planning to ask her out or something. Later, in the locker room, all the students start talking about the horror stories show, particularly about the scene with the refrigerator and the decapitated head that appears in the lockers. Hearing these stories, Hana complains about the regulations that allow this type of content to be broadcast on television. At that moment, Miko realizes she can't tell her friend about the creatures she's seeing, as Hana is so afraid of horror things that she has even vomited from the shock of seeing such scenes. Because of this, she is afraid to open her locker and asks Miko to do it for her. When she opens it, she is relieved to see there's nothing there. Suddenly, when she looks up, she sees a decapitated head in the top compartment, which makes her turn away immediately. Hana comments on how unpleasant it is to hear these kinds of stories, as it always happens that you open a door and see nothing. But when you turn around, there's a ghost right behind you. Then Hana realizes she can't reach her phone and asks Miko to grab it for her. However, the spot where it is located is right in front of the severed head. Miko acts as if nothing is wrong, but as she gets closer, the creature emits a horrifying sound that makes her dizzy with fear and fall to the ground. Later, in the classroom, Hana tells Miko she forgot to put on her underwear when she was in the locker room. She then asks Miko to accompany her to get it, but she flatly refuses immediately. Therefore, Hana has no choice but to go through the day like that. At that moment, Miko reflects on how relaxing it is to spend time with Hana, because it distracts her from the creatures that are clearly all over the school. Shortly after, Miko notices a creature coiled around her friend on Hana's desk. She quickly pulls the desk away and grabs Hana's hand with the excuse that they need to go to the infirmary. However, when she turns around, she realizes her effort was in vain because the monster is groping her friend's entire body. Hana starts playing with a stethoscope, and Miko suggests she put it down because it's full of germs from the sick people who visit the infirmary. Suddenly, Miko sees a jar of alcohol and thinks it might work against the spectre. Hoping it will work, she starts spraying alcohol on Hana's clothes, which makes her underwear visible. At that moment, she notices the creature starts to tremble around Hana and thinks she might have made it disappear. But it actually made things worse, as a head emerged from the monster to be able to see them. Then, Hana gets annoyed because she is all wet and suggests to Miko that they try again with the stethoscope because she wants to listen to her heart. Miko moves away to avoid being touched, but Hana gets closer and the creature tries to put its hands on her body. Fortunately, at that moment, the nurse, Kido, arrives and the creature runs to her, coiling itself around her body. Meanwhile, the girls are scolded for not being in class. Upon leaving the infirmary, Miko clutches her chest, feeling a sense of defeat over the situation that just occurred. Later, the girls head to a donut shop they frequently visit. On this day, the shop is offering a 50% discount on all purchases. Because of this, there is a very long line in front of the store. They see the blonde-haired girl they ran into in the hallway the other day, leaving the shop. She continues on her way, so they decide to get in line. However, Miko is so focused on her phone, looking at the shop's menu, that she doesn't notice the line she's in is made up of ghosts. Seeing her standing there, Hana grabs her arm to take her to the correct line and scolds her for being so absorbed in her phone. Afterwards, Miko becomes curious about why the ghosts are lining up. So, she directs her gaze to the end of the line and discovers a giant ghost that is devouring the creatures. On their way home, they find an abandoned cat in the middle of the street and observe a creature attached to the cat in the box where it is. Despite this, they decide to help it and find a home for it. For this, they make a post indicating the cat is looking for a home. A good-looking guy arrives at the location, asking if he can take the cat. However, Miko rejects his offer, as she perceives a dark energy emanating from the guy, which clearly attracts the creatures that were chasing the kitten. On the other hand, she sees a man who appears to be a yakuza watching them, and Miko decides to give the cat to him, as she can see the spirits of two cats next to him, protecting him. Noticing her decision, Hana questions Miko if it was the best choice she could have made, to which Miko confidently replies that it was for the best, as looks can be deceiving after all. Later, we see the yakuza trying to find a name for his new friend. After it scratches his face, he concludes that the cat likes the name Nyanzuki. Suddenly, we notice the presence of a woman and two cats with a white energy around them. Next to the yakuza, we see a resting place for them. From this, we realize it's his family watching over him after death. In a change of scene, Miko rushes out of her house while her father lovingly says goodbye, asking her to come home early. However, she doesn't answer and continues on her way. She then takes a bus to the shopping district to meet her friend Hana. As she sits down, she looks around and notices a student in the seat closest to the driver. She then checks her messages to inform her friend that she is on her way. When she looks again at the student who was in the front seat, she is now 3 seats closer. Miko checks her phone again to reply to Hana, but when she looks up again, she realizes the student is right in the seat in front of her. Miko then begins to hear the voices of a girl talking. She turns to look at the other people around her and realizes that none of them are talking. At that instant, the figure of the student in front of her begins to distort and splits into 4 heads that stare at her intently. While pretending she can't see the creature, her stop approaches. When she tries to press the button to request the stop, the creature places its hand over the button, preventing her from touching it. They then surround her with their faces to check if she can see them. Miko then presses the button and goes back to her phone. Upon reaching the station, she manages to trick the creature, so she gets off the bus. However, in the midst of all this, she misses the stop where she was supposed to get off. Once back on the bus, she continues her journey, and one of the passengers starts talking on the phone. This impresses Miko, who stares at her. Because of this, the girl thinks she is making her uncomfortable. But the truth is, Miko is surprised because she's not sure if she's human or a specter. Subsequently, Miko informs Hana that she will be late because she missed the bus stop, while Hana tells her she took the wrong train. Later, Miko arrives at the cafe where they are meeting, a little anxious, but Hana hasn't arrived. At that moment, a boy sits at a table, making a lot of noise, which surprises Miko and makes her stare at him, as there was a specter with him. Because of this, the boy thinks Miko is looking at him and smiles back. Realizing this, the creature heads towards Miko and tells her the boy belongs to it. However, Miko focuses on her phone and starts watching videos of muscular men, proclaiming they are the best. This gives the impression that she is not interested in him, and it leaves. Fortunately, Hana arrives at that moment. Seeing that Miko is about to leave, the boy approaches to ask for her number. However, Miko ignores him and heads towards her friend as they pay for their coffee. After this, the boy's girlfriend arrives, who is surrounded by many male specters obsessed with her. Witnessing this, Miko realizes that the couple is perfect for each other. Later, we see that Miko has bought 4 rosaries to protect herself from evil spirits. Consequently, she reflects on the need to boost Hana's defenses and decides to give her 2 of them. Grateful, Hana promises to repay her with some sweet buns. Hana then mentions she knows a shortcut to the dessert shop, and they head down a dark alley. Upon arriving there, Miko realizes they are surrounded by specters. She tries to stop Hana, but notices that as they get closer, the specters back away due to the protection rosaries. Although the other monsters retreat, Miko notes there is a creature blocking their path. The energy emanating from the creature breaks their rosaries, so she decides to walk through it to get to Hina. Subsequently, we see Yuria in front of the godmother's shop, contemplating the idea of buying a rosary. However, due to the crowd of people around, she decides to do it another day. Following this, Miko and Hana go to the old woman's shop and ask for another pair of rosaries. Seeing that they are young girls, the old woman doesn't take it seriously and decides to give them a rosary with little protective power. Suddenly, upon placing it in Miko's hand, a mysterious force destroys it, and the godmother apologizes, suggesting the elastic was probably worn out, and offers her a much more powerful one. As she turns to get it, she reflects to herself that she might be a cunning scammer, but they don't call her the godmother for nothing. Then we realize she also has psychic abilities and can distinguish a faint black mist behind Miko. Therefore, she asks Miko if she has seen anything weird or strange lately, to which Miko immediately replies, no. The godmother deduces that Miko sees these oddities but is clearly ignoring them for some reason. On the other hand, Hana has an energy that attracts them, but it is so powerful that they cannot affect her. After this, Hana gets scared and asks Miko if she is experiencing something terrifying again. She replies that she is not going through anything like that. This confirms to the lady that Miko is a seer, so she takes out a rosary she has been keeping which contains the energy of her most powerful years and gives it to her as a gift. While observing Miko, the lady thinks that her years as a scammer are over and that she is ready to return as a powerful godmother. When Miko puts on the rosary, the creature behind her automatically begins to deform. We think it's going to disappear, but we see the old woman's most powerful rosary break and fall on her. Later, Miko and Hana head back to their homes. Then, Miko tells Hana that she doesn't want to know any more about rosaries, which causes her to think about the giant creature that was chasing her, but at some point stopped following her. In a change of scene, we see Miko having a nightmare, but she is awakened by her brother. Before she can react, she opens the curtain of her room and verifies that it is her brother Kyusuke. So she tells him he must stop scaring her when he wakes her up. He tells her she was talking in her sleep and asks her, "Were you having an erotic dream or something?" Once he said this, he runs out of the room because Miko was about to hit him with a pillow for being so bold. Later, we see her at a convenience store, excited because they have the special autumn chestnut pudding. Then, Hana tells her that they also had that pudding last year and that it was very, very delicious. At that moment, Miko confesses that she couldn't try it last year. That's why Hana tells her that this pudding must have been waiting for her to try it. So she decides to buy one for herself as well. Seeing Hana buy so much, Miko realizes and thinks that it's lucky that all the food she consumes goes to her breasts. Afterwards, she heads to the cash register to pay for her products. There, she sees a creature telling her that the bill is 103 yen, but the boy serving her adds a 3% tax. However, Miko can't complain, because if she does, the spectre will realize she can see it, so she leaves the place without saying a word. Later, Miko and Kyusuke get ready to watch the Horror Stories program. Their mother warns them not to stay up too late, because this program is clearly very scary and very, very terrifying things appear. Meanwhile, their father can be heard yawning, which announces that they are going to bed. Next, that day's program presents the 100 most terrifying photos in the world. The presenter shows a photo of 2 tents by the river. At first glance, everything seems normal, but what is hidden in the shadows is something from another world. Then we see that a totally spooky creature can be distinguished in the tent. Kyusuke nervously tells his sister that the image is surely edited and that he can't believe how people can fall for something like that. Immediately after, the program goes to a commercial break, and Kyusuke complains, arguing that's why nobody watches television nowadays. In one of the commercials, a woman can be seen promoting a fragrance. Seeing her, Miko gets scared and tells Kyusuke she's going to get some drinks. Consequently, Miko goes to a vending machine to buy a hot drink. However, when she goes to pay, the coin slips from her hand and rolls under the machine. When she bends down to pick it up, she encounters a tiny old man who runs off into the alley when he sees her. Miko finds him cute and pretends her coin rolls towards him so she can get a better look. When they reach him, she realizes there is a giant old man controlling them, so she pretends not to see him and tries to pick up the coin she lost. But the creature puts its hand on the coin and gets closer to Miko. Despite this, she decides to take it anyway, but she is so nervous that her hands tremble and she can't grab it. Suddenly, a crow takes the coin from the place, which saves her, and Miko pretends to go after the crow and takes the opportunity to flee. Once she gets home, her brother asks about the drinks. She explains that a crow stole her money. Then, Kyusuke offers to get her money back, but she decides to let it go, as the crow saved her life. At that moment, we see some goblins under the sofa who are fascinated by a coin. The next morning, a worried Kyusuke tells his friends that his sister is acting very strangely, mentioning that she sighs a lot lately and is always in a very strange mood. Also, she keeps groaning and saying, "No please," while she's sleeping, which makes her brother think that his sister is playing with herself with her right hand. His companion drops the subject, saying he's right and it's very strange. However, a female classmate who overhears them suggests that his sister probably has a boyfriend. What his classmate said leaves him thoughtful, and he decides that day he will follow his sister to confirm if this is true. Then we see Miko looking for some books to help her decipher what is happening. But behind the books, she sees a spectre and continues on her way. Her brother then approaches to check what she was reading. However, a misunderstanding arises when he discovers that under the paranormal stories section is the romance books section. He opens one of these books in which it is mentioned that hickeys are a manifestation of love. Later, Miko decides to take a bath to relax, relieved to have survived another day without problems. At that moment, we see a shadow loom over her. She immediately wakes up and we realize it was a nightmare. However, when she turns her face to the corner of the bathroom, her greatest fear comes true and we see a spectre sitting with its back to the wall. Because of this, she decides to get out of the bathroom as soon as possible, but when she tries to get up, the spectre does too. Then, she is paralyzed with fear and cannot move. Just at that moment, her brother arrives to tell her he wants to take a bath with her. When he sees her, he checks that she doesn't have any hickeys and tells her he'd better take a bath later. Miko then insists and offers her help to wash his back. This way, Kyusuke takes the opportunity to ask his sister if she has a boyfriend. Miko replies that she doesn't and starts talking about her school. Meanwhile, the spectre sits down again upon realizing they can't notice it. The next morning, Miko's alarm goes off and she thinks of only one thing when she wakes up, and that is that she wishes she could no longer see these spectres. After making her wish, she looks out the window to check if she can see them. And despite this, every day that passes, she sees more and more monsters. Although this doesn't allow her to live in peace, she decides she should only think about good things. Then she gets excited, remembering that today she will be able to eat her chestnut pudding. While going down to have breakfast with her family, we hear Kyusuke telling his mother that a crow recently stole his money. Later, her father greets her and tells her he's heard she's become friends with a crow. There we realize that a giant creature is surrounding the dining room where her family is gathered. Her brother notices that she is acting strangely and asks if she didn't get enough sleep the night before. Meanwhile, her father jokes, asking if she is like this because she has a boyfriend. Despite seeing the giant creature, she decides to sit down, but it doesn't leave her alone and licks her food. Then Kyusuke suggests that if the dessert in the fridge is hers, it would be better if she put her name on it to prevent someone else from eating it again. To this, her father nervously says it's better not to touch on this topic. Then her mother tells us that last year she got very angry because her father ate her dessert. Kyusuke adds that she was so angry they thought she was possessed. Suddenly she gets up from the table and tells them she is not hungry. Then her parents see her off at the door while the giant creature remains attached to them. At that, she turns around and her father asks if she forgot something. Without answering him, she goes to the fridge to get the chestnut pudding. Immediately after, she enters a room where we see a photo of her father in the middle of an altar. At that instant, she places the pudding for her father, who enters the room. He expresses that he always wanted to apologize to her for what happened and regrets never having been able to make it up to her. Finally, with tears in her eyes, Miko leaves the place and says goodbye to her father with a "see you later." In a change of scene, we see Yuria at the godmother's shop asking to be accepted as an apprentice. However, the godmother replies that she has already told her on numerous occasions that she is not accepting apprentices at the moment. Despite this, Yuria insists, and the old woman just sighs, thinking she is wasting her time with children who have no money. Then she asks if she is in elementary school, to which Yuria replies that she is actually in junior high. Seeing how persistent she is, she tells her to take a rosary and leave. Therefore, Yuria accepts the rosary, interpreting it as a symbol that the old woman has accepted her as her apprentice. At that moment, we realize that Yuria can also see the specters. However, her world has been like this for as long as she can remember, so she is not afraid of these creatures. On the contrary, she considers this power as something special that others do not possess. Therefore, she believes there must be a reason why she was born with this power and aspires to be powerful enough to exorcise evil spirits. She dreams of the day she can do it, and everyone will look at her with envy, so she thinks that is the perfect life plan for her. The next day, Yuria goes to the godmother's shop but finds a notice that it is closed. So she asks the owner of the shop across the street what happened to her. He mentions that recently, when she spoke with 2 students, it caused the godmother to have a revelation about her powers, and because of this, she went to the countryside to reflect. At that instant, Miko and Hana approach the place, so Yuria hides behind some boxes to avoid being seen. Once they arrive in front of the old woman's shop, Hana comments loudly to Miko that it makes sense the shop is closed, as her rosaries were very fragile. Then, they decide to go buy sweet buns. However, Yuria observes that Hana is about to collide with a spectre. Before she can say anything, Miko warns her friend to be careful with a cockroach, thus preventing her from tripping over the spectre. Witnessing this, Yuria suspects that Miko can also see evil spirits. Later, Yuria approaches Miko and invites her to the school's storage room with the excuse of helping her clean. At that moment, Yuria confesses that she has realized she is one of them and reveals that she already knows she can see specters. She then throws some bottle caps on the floor and some goblins approach to pick them up. She then clarifies that this type of spirit likes damp places and also shiny things. She then mentions that she has been following her and realized that she can see them. However, Yuria would not have noticed this if she couldn't see them too, as Miko is very skilled at ignoring them. So Miko continues to pretend she can't see them and acts as if there are cockroaches on the floor. This annoys Yuria, who exclaims that she doesn't need to pretend anymore, since she can see them too. As a result of her reaction, Yuria thinks Miko is underestimating her and believes she is not on her level and therefore not worth her time. At that moment, we observe that Miko is acting this way not only because of the goblins, but also because of much larger ones hidden behind her. Upon hearing Yuria claim she can see it, it goes crazy and destroys the rosary she is holding. In an attempt to divert the monster's attention, Miko performs a maneuver to get Yuria out of the warehouse. As she is about to lose consciousness, Yuria can see the creature and is left reflecting on her desire to be an exceptional spiritualist. Later, Yuria wakes up in the infirmary, a little scared to see Miko by her side. She then reflects on her actions and considers that perhaps she did not make the best decision. Although Yuria can also see spirits, she understands that she cannot see the same things Miko does, as she cannot see the giant malevolent creature. Therefore, she comes to the conclusion that if she mentions this, Yuria could be in danger just like her. After this, she confesses that she herself does not understand what is happening around her. That's why she pretends not to see them. She also clarifies that she did not intend to hurt her. Once she leaves the infirmary, we notice that Yuria has misinterpreted everything Miko said and thinks she threatened her not to reveal anything. Later, it gets dark while Miko is shopping for underwear with Hana. On her way home, she receives a message from her friend suggesting they should show each other what they bought. Miko replies that she won't, but she can send a picture of what she bought. As she was going down some stairs, she meets an old woman with a black aura around her. That's why she thought it was a spectre. However, as she passes by her, she realizes she is a living person and decides to help her get back home. They later arrive at the old woman's house, and when her daughter arrives, she thanks Miko for bringing her and apologizes for the trouble. She comments that when her father was alive, the old woman was lucid, but since he died, she doesn't remember her family or her own name. The daughter leaves Miko with the lady at the door of the house while she looks for something to thank her for her help. which forces Miko to wait with the lady outside. She then decides to send a message to her mother to inform her that she will be late due to an unforeseen event. However, when she turns on the phone screen, she can see a spectre behind the lady repeating a sequence of numbers over and over. Seeing this, Miko decides that the best thing to do is to leave as soon as possible, but the old woman, curious about her phone, grabs her hand. Suddenly, she realizes that the spectre is trying to communicate something to the lady and has no intention of harming her. Then, from her cell phone, she writes down the numbers that the ghost constantly repeats and shows them clearly to the lady. She remains silent for a moment and then starts walking into the house. She goes to a safe and we see her daughter telling her to leave it as she can never remember the combination. But to everyone's surprise, the lady manages to open it. She takes out a hair ornament from the box that was a gift from her husband, along with some letters, and turns to her daughter, Haruko, to tell her that they are going to have miso soup that day. Then the spectre approaches Miko, which makes her a little nervous, but he just thanks her for helping him and goes on his way. The lady invites Miko to have dinner at her house, but she declines the invitation because her mother must surely be worried since she hasn't arrived home yet. In a change of scene, Miko and Hana are at a pastry shop after school. However, we see Miko making a disgusted face at the sight of the pastries. This is because all kinds of creatures are on top of the snacks in the display case. Once they leave the shop, they encounter one of the most terrifying creatures Miko has seen so far. So, to prevent Hana from tripping over it, she suggests they go buy donuts. Later, we see Hana wake up and notice that her clock stopped again the night before. After having breakfast and getting ready to go out with Miko, she notices, upon reaching the exit of her house, that the entrance light bulb is flickering. She finds it strange, as they have recently changed it. On her way to meet Miko, one of the neighbor's dogs won't stop barking. She senses that the dog woke up a little hyperactive today, and that's why it's behaving this way, as if something were happening. Then we realize that all these strange situations happening around her are due to the dark creature Miko saw before, which is chasing Hana because of the energy she is emanating. Along the way, the spectre grabs one of the goblins in the place and throws it at Hana. It gets burned due to her energy, and the spectre does it with the intention of eating it. Next, Hana meets a boy who is crying because he lost his dog inside an abandoned house. She offers to retrieve it, but there are many smaller spectres in the place that are thrown at Hana by the monster chasing her, using her as its personal roaster. After a while, she finds the dog under a tent, terrified by everything happening around it. Later, she meets up with Miko. She lies to her, saying that the cinema they were going to is closed that day, so she proposes that she has always wanted to visit a powerful shrine and would like her to come along. Then we observe that the creature looks much more terrifying since it is clearly behind Hana. Because of this, Miko feels the need to try something. However, upon arriving at the place, she doesn't feel so convinced that they have gone to the right place because it seems abandoned. Still, she decides to make an offering, and there Miko asks for the spectre behind Hana to disappear. Hana asks her what she wished for with so much emotion, as it took her a long time to do it. Upon opening her eyes, she turns to see that the creature is still there. In fact, the situation is now worse because she realizes that two kitsune foxes have appeared. They suddenly begin to murmur and join their hands to exorcise the evil spectre. Meanwhile, Hana continues to talk about her favorite movies and asks Miko if she has seen any of them. And she, very scared, says she hasn't seen anything. Miko can't pay attention to what Hana is saying because she is very impressed by what is happening with the evil spectre, as it seems to be in pain, and she wonders if the small creatures are gods and hopes they can defeat it. However, while she is encouraging them in her mind, the evil spectre destroys one of the foxes and swallows it in one bite. Just at that moment, Hana drags Miko with her to take a photo at the shrine's arch, as a very, very beautiful sunset is happening. But the only thing Miko can see in the background is the fight with the evil creature. Suddenly, a giant goat appears behind her, grabs the spectre by the neck, tears it to pieces and swallows it after finishing it off. Immediately after, the foxes appear in front of her and speak with the giant goat in a language Miko cannot understand. It places its hand on her, and a great breeze blows around her. The last thing she manages to hear is them saying the word 3 times. She is sure they did something, but she doesn't know exactly what it was. In a change of scene, we see Yuria taking a bath and observing a goblin coming out of the pipe, but she decides to ignore it. As she arranges her hair, she can't stop thinking about the humiliation she suffered in front of Miko and vows to prove how good she is as a spiritualist. Later at school, Hana shows Miko that the photo she took at the shrine has become famous. Upon seeing it, Miko makes a face, as she can clearly see a chilling scene happening behind her. Hana thinks Miko made that face because she saw the published photo, so she shows her that she put stickers on it to hide their faces. Hana tells Miko that she is very excited, as none of her photos had ever gotten so many likes. That's why she thinks she has a talent for photography, so she shows her an instant camera. Because of this, she wants to go to many cool places with her and take pictures together. Immediately after, Miko remembers that creatures usually follow her friend, so she has the impression that they will be terrifying photos. At that moment, Hana surprises Miko and takes a picture of her. When she develops it, she realizes that a malevolent creature passed behind her, which makes her very nervous. Later, Yuria overhears what they were talking about and tells Hana that she is very good at taking photos. She also mentions that she knows an interesting place where they could go to take said photos. However, she reveals that this is a plan to discover what kind of abilities Miko has. The next day, they head to the mountains by bus. Then Yuria takes them to a tunnel that all the villagers know is haunted and that anyone who can see ghosts will avoid entering. Upon seeing the place, Hana says it is very scary and suggests it would be better to go back. Quickly, Yuria persuades her, saying that on the other side of the tunnel there is a spectacular view. She advises her not to be carried away by fear, as it is a great opportunity to take a very beautiful photo, and this encourages her to continue. At the entrance, Miko takes a stone out of her shoe. This makes Yuria think that perhaps she is performing some kind of ritual. Then, while walking, Miko stumbles and shakes her hands 3 times. So Yuria interprets this gesture as if she were creating a barrier around herself and feels that she is clearly underestimating her. As they go deeper into the tunnel, all sorts of specters begin to gather, and some drops of water fall on Hana's neck, so she gets scared and tells the girls she wants to go back. Yuria then suggests taking a photo to calm her down, and we observe that many creatures have gathered behind Miko, which is reflected in the photo. Therefore, Miko thinks it would be better for them to leave the place as soon as possible before something even more terrifying appears. Just as she is about to say something, she hears the sound of chains. Suddenly, we see a malevolent spectre appear and devour the smaller ghosts, which makes it become much larger. When the smaller ghosts begin to disappear, Yuria believes it was Miko who exorcised them, as she cannot see the malevolent spectre behind them. Immediately, Yuria tries to exorcise a spectre that is near her. When the giant creature eats it and it disappears from her sight, she thinks she succeeded. Following this, she turns to Miko to ask if she saw what she did with the spirit. Upon hearing this, the spectre, which is now much larger, goes crazy and attacks her. So Miko pulls her towards herself and the foxes come to their rescue, managing to scare away the malevolent spectre. This leaves Miko very confused, but at the same time, it gives her a sense of relief, as she clearly cannot understand. Back in the city, Yuria is left thinking that, after all, Miko showed her that she is much more powerful than her. Hana notices that both are downcast, so she surprises them by taking a group photo and sends it to them. Seeing the photo, Yuria remembers her school days, when the other girls pushed her away because they thought she wanted to get attention by saying she could see ghosts. She then sets this photo as her wallpaper, happy because the new friends she has made are very fun. Later, Hana suggests going to eat donuts, and Yuria realizes that when Hana eats, she emanates a powerful energy that attracts spirits. She is about to mention it when Miko offers her her donut. Again, Yuria misinterprets the gesture, thinking she is threatening her not to tell Hana anything. However, in reality, Miko thought that Yuria liked that flavor, and that's why she offered her a taste of her donut. In a change of scene, Miko is with Kyusuke choosing a birthday gift for their mom. They are interested in a dress, but her brother comments that it would be much better if it had a lion print on the front. At that moment, the shop assistant approaches her to suggest that if it's for her, she can try it on. She clarifies that the dress is a gift. Then her brother tells her that she and their mom are the same size, so it would be good if she tried it on. She then enters the dressing room while Kyusuke tells her he will wait outside. At that moment, we see that the shop assistant finds it cute that he acts like her boyfriend. Miko then realizes that there is a spectre in the place that tells her the dress looks very sexy on her. Once she finishes changing, she comes out for her brother to see and decides to wear the dress out. However, her brother asks if that wasn't the dress they were going to give to their mom, but she considers that she should buy it for herself, as she is not willing to go back into the dressing room with that spectre present. Later, she enters a souvenir shop and her brother is interested in a t-shirt with an animal print. Miko decides to buy it for him as it is completely his style. After a while, they manage to find a good gift for their mom. On the train back home, Kiyusuki falls asleep on Miko's shoulder and she hears a metallic sound. At that moment, we discover that it is a malevolent spectre that roams the train cars, piercing passengers with its axe in search of something. Realizing this, Miko decides to leave with her brother. However, we see a passenger get up to answer a call and the spectre runs towards him to pierce him. Therefore, fleeing is not an option at this moment. After verifying that the man has nothing, the spectre proceeds with the next person. Right next to Miko, a woman who seems a bit ill can be seen. When the spectre pierces her with its axe, it extracts a creature from inside her and places it in a sack it carries on its back. The spectre then heads towards her and Miko thinks this time she was going to react. But after passing through a tunnel, we see her maintain her impassive face, unfazed by what the spectre did. She gets off at the next station and her brother runs out after her, telling her that this is not their station, but she invents at that moment that they need to buy underwear. Then, her brother thinks it must be very hard to be a girl. Later, she gives the gift to her mother and we see that they chose 2 matching cups for a couple, which the mother uses to have tea next to Miko's father's altar. In a change of scene, we see Hana hugging her pregnant teacher's belly, as she will soon be taking her maternity leave. She offers to accompany her, but the teacher says she can go alone. Suddenly, Miko sees a light around the teacher. This makes Miko nervous because she doesn't know the nature of the spectre that is with the teacher. However, the teacher tells her that this time she feels the birth is near. Hearing this, Miko asks what she means, and the teacher tells her that this is her second attempt to have a baby, as she couldn't have a baby in the previous pregnancy. After this, Miko intuits that the light surrounding her is her unborn baby, and thinks it's okay to leave it like that. On the way back home, Miko keeps seeing all kinds of specters. However, for the first time, she begins to reflect on the reason why she can see these monsters. She wonders if perhaps she should confront them more often, just as Yuria does. The next morning, Hana tells Miko that she went to buy a drink the night before. However, there was a moth on the button of the vending machine, so she decided to ignore it and go to the store to buy the drinks. Miko interprets this story as advice on what she should do with the specters and decides to continue ignoring them. Later, the new teacher, who will be replacing the professor, arrives in the classroom. And there we discover that it is the same boy who wanted to adopt the cat and who emanates a black aura around him, named Zen. Miko thought she would never cross paths with him again, yet now he is her teacher. Not only does she have to deal with that, but also with the black aura surrounding him, which takes the form of wild cats. To complicate matters further, this aura attracts all kinds of malevolent specters. After class, Hana heads to the school store feeling an unusual hunger. Miko, noticing this, assures her it's normal, as she is hungry all the time. On the way back to the classroom, Hana remembers she forgot to buy her after-class snack, so she asks Miko to wait for her on the stairs. Meanwhile, Miko checks her phone and reflects on how Hana seems not to have realized that the teacher is the same person they saw days ago to give the kitten to. She then sees a poster for a Halloween event where they will be giving away donuts and thinks about keeping Hana distracted with this. At that instant, on the other side of the building, Miko observes Professor Zen and notices something terrifying following him. Suddenly, Zen feels a gaze on him and turns in Miko's direction. However, she quickly hides to avoid being seen. A little later, we see Miko has gone to the bathroom. She is very nervous, as she doesn't understand how they can ignore this creature that follows the professor every day. She then hears a noise coming from outside and decides to hide, thinking the spectre has followed her. Once Miko locks herself in a bathroom stall, she realizes it was just some girls. However, upon realizing this, she comes face to face with a spectre in the toilet bowl. It notices her presence and completely emerges from the toilet, making sure she can't see it. Miko reacts quickly and pretends to be impressed that there's no toilet paper in the bathroom, so she decides to go to another stall to get more. But when she opens the door to the next stall, she finds Yuria having lunch in the bathroom to go unnoticed by others. Next, we see that Miko has invited Yuria to have lunch with her and Hana in the school courtyard. She suggests that she start eating with them, as it's not appropriate to eat in the bathroom again. Additionally, sometimes a smell quite similar to poop can reach you. Besides, she thinks a terrifying spectre is present there, which it seems Yuria cannot see. At that moment, Miko realizes the professor is passing by on the other side of the hallway and concludes that if she wants to protect her friends, she must keep an eye on him. Suddenly, the spectre following the professor appears behind them and surprises her by saying, "Don't look at him." This causes tears to well up in her eyes, and seeing her like this, her friends get worried. She reassures them by saying that something just got in her eye. Later, the girls head to the Halloween event, which turns out to be a haunted house. And even though Hana is terrified, she decides to enter because whoever completes the tour will get 20 free donuts. So Miko asks her if her hunger is stronger than her fear, and Yuria comments that these things don't scare her. Hana hugs Yuria, happy to have her by her side. At that moment, an attendant calls them to let them know it's their turn to enter. Miko sees this as a great opportunity to strengthen her mental fortitude. Once they enter the haunted house, Yuria gets the impression that compared to the monsters she sees every day, this is child's play. However, as they walk, they encounter a very large man chasing them with an axe. Hana and the girls run away, terrified. After reaching a safe place, Hana complains about the level of fear she experienced, commenting that it's very well done for a donut shop attraction. Once Hana calms down, she leans against a wall. Suddenly, a fake spider falls on her shoulder, causing her to jump on Miko. Miko asks her to calm down, as her screams are scaring everyone. Miko then reminds her that she was fine in that haunted building they had clearly entered, so this should be something similar. Hana immediately replies that this time is different. As for her, that was just an abandoned building. Hearing this, Yuria is surprised, as people who can't see specters usually avoid such places. So Yuria begins to imagine a scenario in which Miko uses Hana's energy to finish them all off at once. This gives her the impression that they form a formidable duo in the quest to eradicate evil. They quickly resume their path in search of the treasure that would allow them to claim the prize. After searching for a while, Hana feels tired and suggests to the girls that they abandon the search and get out of there. However, they assure her that the tour must be close to its end. They are suddenly surprised by a man with a chainsaw, and throughout their journey, they are chased by different Western monsters. After a while, Miko realizes she doesn't have to pretend not to be scared, so she starts screaming and having fun while being chased by the haunted house attendants. They finally reach a section of the maze where the treasure is located. However, the tranquility of this place gives them a rather unsettling feeling. Suddenly, Miko sees a figure behind her and overreacts, thinking it's one of the attendants. However, she realizes too late that it is actually a real spectre. As a result, the ghost starts following them, but we see all the costumed attendants gather at the final stretch to chase them along with the spectre. Therefore, Miko reflects on how she has had to hold back all this time because of the spectres. Now she has finally been able to feel free and will not allow this ghost to ruin her fun. She then turns towards the horde of monsters and orders them to stay away and not come any closer. This causes the spectre to also stop in its tracks, shocked. Meanwhile, the attendants resume their pursuit behind them. Once they reach the end, they are rewarded with donuts. Then, Hana expresses that she now understands the meaning of life and that it was worth going through that whole maze for the reward. Finally, Miko realizes and is left reflecting, unsure if this improved her mental fortitude or not. What she does know for sure is that she feels much better now. On their way back home, they pass by the old godmother's shop, and Yuria takes the opportunity to pay her respects, hoping she will return soon, as she believes the old woman is on a journey to strengthen her medium abilities. However, the reality is that the old woman has gone to the countryside to work and not be a burden to her family. She refuses to be someone who has to be taken care of, as she is perfectly capable of taking care of herself. In a change of scene, we see a lady heading to Zen's house to offer him some of her leftover stew. She tells him that since the cats disappeared from the neighborhood, crows have taken over the place, rummaging through the trash. She also mentions that she recently heard rumors about a person kidnapping cats in the park. Grateful for the gesture, Zen thanks the lady and assures her that he will wash the container and return it once he's finished. Just as he is about to close the door, the lady notices blood on his hand and asks if he hurt himself. And Zen replies that he cut himself on a glass. Once inside his house, Zen takes the food the lady brought him and throws it in the trash can. He then washes the blood off his hands and leaves his house to take out the trash. Meanwhile, the shadow around him can be seen growing much, much larger. On his way to work, he comes across ads everywhere, condemning animal cruelty as a crime. In addition, posters about missing cats can be seen. Later, we see Hana and Miko during their physical education class. Hana clutches her abdomen and tells Miko she's hungry, asking how long until lunchtime. Hearing this, Miko replies that it's only the second period. Then, Hana laments that she woke up late in the morning and only had time for breakfast. She then confesses to Miko that she has been feeling very hungry lately. Miko doesn't pay much attention to this, as Hana has always been very gluttonous. Hana immediately complains, saying Miko's criticism is too harsh, and she would prefer her to say she has a healthy appetite or something similar. Miko ends up agreeing with what Hana says, although she doesn't give it much importance. Therefore, Hana insists that she is really worried about her sudden hunger. At that moment, to reassure her, Miko assures her that she likes both her and her healthy appetite very much. This improves Hana's mood, who mentions that what Miko said is a very good love confession. Next, Miko thinks that running will lift her spirits, so she looks very happy while doing so. But behind her, a spectre can be heard shouting at the girls, telling them they are very slow. Feeling it pass by her side, she decides it would be best to go at Hana's pace to avoid it. The next class is taught by Professor Zen, and we hear that they are reading a book about the story of a murderer of women. Because of this, the students have to pay attention to the professor, but the spectre following him becomes hostile, insisting that they cannot see him. However, they can neither see nor hear the spectre. Once one of her classmates finishes reading, Miko realizes that the creature enters Zen. For this reason, Miko reflects on the time a spectre entered a woman on the train and was defeated by the monster with the axe. For a moment, she considers the possibility of asking the latter for help. However, she comes to her senses, realizing she cannot ask for help from spectres because if she does, they will know she can see them and will attack her. She was so focused on thinking about how to get rid of this spectre that Professor Zen had to approach her to ask her to read a part of the text they were studying. Suddenly, all attention is focused on her. She stood up with trembling hands and tried to read, but she was on the verge of tears from the fear of having a large creature near her. Zen got even closer to ask if something was wrong, but she was saved by Hana, who informed the professor that she was feeling very ill due to hunger. When her classmates hear this, they make fun of her, as it is very common for her to always be hungry. Miko immediately offers to take her to the infirmary. In the hallway, Hana apologizes to Miko for causing her so much trouble, but explains that she started to feel extremely hungry as soon as the class began. Because of this act, Miko thinks that her hunger rescued her from the situation she was in, so she expresses how much she loves her, which makes Hana very nervous. Then we see Yuria in a classroom watching the class when she sees them walking down the hall. Once in the infirmary, Hana is given a bed to rest, and Yuria arrives to ask if everything is okay. Miko tells her that Hana is hungry as usual. Then Hana mentions that Professor Zen will surely think she is weird for acting this way in his class. At that moment, Yuria gives Hana some candies that recharge her energy. She then explains that it is normal for her life energy to be depleted when she is near him and these ghosts. Suddenly, Miko jumps up. Yuria interprets this action as something negative and thinks that she doesn't want Hana to find out about her power. Then Miko is left thinking about what Yuria said. She had thought that Hana attracted the spectres, but it hadn't occurred to her that this would drain her vital aura. She realizes that Yuria can see auras, something she cannot do. So she asks to speak with her for a moment, but Yuria immediately says she has to get her things for the second period and flees, because she remembered that the last time she spoke with Miko, she ended up in the infirmary. After class, Miko and Hana go to a park that seems very peaceful at first glance. However, they realize that there are also many spectres lurking around people there. Hana tells Miko that she likes that place and greets a little girl passing by. Meanwhile, Miko is lost in thought, aware that she must find a solution, as ignoring the spectres will not work forever. Seeing her like this, Hana starts to worry about her, as she seems a bit depressed. Miko assures her that she is fine and that she knows telling her everything that is happening will be of no use and she doesn't want to scare her. Suddenly, Miko sees a boy in the background of the park with a yellow balloon and tells Hana how cute children are. At that moment, the balloon the boy was holding suddenly pops and he transforms into a horrible spectre that goes straight for her. Just as it is about to hit her, the kitsune foxes appear in front of her to save her, but the boy counterattacks and destroys one of them. The remaining fox launches its final attack and manages to defeat him. Before disappearing, it gives Miko a sign and says 2 times. Therefore, she remembers what she heard from them the first time she saw them at the temple and realizes that what they said this time is the number of times they have already helped her. Therefore, she only has 1 chance left, and after that, they will not appear again. At that moment, Hana tells Miko she is hungry again, which is very strange since she just ate. There we realize that the way to recharge Hana's aura is through food, and that when she gets close to ghosts, they drain it. Later, we see Miko's classmates walking through her neighborhood. The sound of a cat catches their attention. However, at the place where the sound is coming from, they see a suspicious man with pliers who seems to be about to take the cat. One of the classmates runs to the alley to see the kitten, but when she arrives, the suspicious subject has already left. Subsequently, we are shown a memory of Professor Zen when he was just a child, showing his mother the result of an exam he had. When she sees the exam, she tells him that he almost got a perfect score. Hearing his mother say this, he enthusiastically asks for permission to go out and play. Then she asks him why he didn't get 2 more points, so he immediately apologizes for his mistake. At this, she crouches down to look at him intently and tells him that is not an appropriate response, as she wants to know the reason why he made these mistakes on the exam. At that instant, a classmate of Zen's calls him from outside, warning him that they will be late for the birthday party if they don't leave now. At this, his mother reproaches him for being so cruel as to hide such things from her. Consequently, he begs her to let him go, arguing that he spent all his allowance money to buy a gift. Furthermore, he promises to try harder on the next exam if she lets him go. His mom ends up agreeing, but then she squeezes his head and tells him that if he wants to be like his father and betray his mother, he can go have fun. Immediately after, he goes to a park and destroys the gift he had bought for his classmate, unable to attend the party because he knows doing so would prove he is just like his father. And we see that, on that day in the park, he finds a kitten. Back in the present, Zen is teaching his class. Meanwhile, Hana is secretly eating behind a notebook as being near him consumes a lot of her energy for some reason. Miko keeps an eye on him as she doesn't trust him and the malignant aura that surrounds him. After class, Professor Zen is always the first to leave, so Miko decides to follow him to find out what he does and realizes that the aura around him gets much bigger every day. However, it will be difficult to watch him if he looks directly at her, and the spectre that follows him will go after her. By doing so, the kitsune foxes will come to her rescue, thus exhausting her last chance for help. Although they saved her from these monsters, she doesn't know what kind of spectre she will encounter in the future. Therefore, she must deal with this spectre herself. After this, she begins to follow the dark trail that the professor leaves. She has her phone at hand in case he does something bad to her, to have evidence for the police and thus be able to keep him away from Hana once and for all. After following him for a while, she realizes that he is heading to a secluded place. He finally arrives under a bridge where he is about to take a cat. However, she appears at that moment to stop him. Scared, the cat runs towards her and she starts running with it in her arms. Once he catches up with her, the professor tells her that he remembered who she was and asks why she won't let him have the cat. At that moment, the cat escapes from Miko's hands and crosses the street without noticing a truck coming in its direction. Then we see Zen lunging to save it, which causes him to take the hit instead of the cat. We then return to a memory from when he was a child. Back then, he took the cat he found in the park home, hiding it from his mom. And we see that every time his mother asked him if he had something to tell her, he would simply say that he was focused on getting a perfect score on the next exam for her. One day, when he returned from school, he went to greet his little friend and found that the bed where the kitten rested was all covered in blood. His mother approaches him from behind, telling him that she got rid of that vermin. She asks him why he deceived her instead of repaying all the love she gives him. In a change of scene, we see that the professor was injured due to the accident. Miko apologizes for what happened, however, he assures her that it is not her fault, as it was his decision to save the cat. He immediately asks Miko about the cat's condition. She informs him that she gave the cat to her family to take care of. At that moment, Miko explains that she thought he was going to harm the cat, which is why she was preventing him from getting one. He then asks her why she thought he was going to harm the cat. However, she realizes she cannot explain that it is because of the black aura surrounding him, apart from the specter that is clearly following him. So, in return, she asks him what the reason was for wanting to take this cat. He then explains that there is a person in his neighborhood who is hurting cats, and he thought it was her because she was acting very suspiciously, in addition to clearly following him. He also mentions that she acts very strangely at school, so he thinks she is a very weird girl. Then she realizes that he was walking through the alleys to catch the people who are mistreating animals. He then tells her that all the animals he finds are injured or die shortly after in a very mysterious way. Next, he advises Miko to be cautious when looking for future owners on social media, as there are many people with very bad intentions. On the other hand, he has certain connections that make it easier for him to find the right owners. Just at that moment, a childhood friend visits him and suggests that he stop filling his veterinary clinic with cats. In this way, it is revealed that the connections he possesses come from his childhood friend, Satoru, who is now a well-known veterinarian. Later, Satoru tells Miko that he finds it surprising that a student of his friend has decided to visit him. This is because he doesn't really show much interest in people, and could bet that he doesn't even know his student's name. She admits that he is right and confesses that she doesn't remember any of their names. He then tells her that he was impressed that his friend was run over while trying to save a cat. He mentions that he recently received a message from his friend telling him that the cat he had taken in had had kittens, so he decided to take them all in. Miko asks him why, if he likes cats so much, he doesn't keep any. He then explains that his mother was very strict with him. He remembers once when she found a cat he was secretly taking care of. Zen blames himself for that cat's death since that day, but Satoru is sure that it was his mother who actually killed it and not him, as he had very good intentions. He then adds that his mother was not only strict, but also controlled every aspect of Zen's life when they were little. She would tell him not to even get near or look at him. Hearing this, Miko realizes that the specter following Professor Zen is his own mother, who even after death is still trying to control him. However, she can't help but feel worried for her friend, as she believes that the act of saving cats is a way for him to move on. Therefore, the only thing she can do for him is to help him find a home for the cats he finds. Miko is interested in knowing the reason why he helps them. He then explains that as a friend, if Zen has problems, it is his duty to assist him. He also hopes that one day his friend can take care of cats, not out of obligation, but out of love. Afterwards, Miko returns to Zen's room and informs him that his friend had to go back to his duties. She then asks him if, once he feels better, he could adopt the cat he rescued. He replies that he doesn't feel very sure and that it's not like he loves cats. At that moment, she points out that a person who doesn't love cats wouldn't sacrifice themselves to save one. Then, Miko looks directly into the eyes of the specter that is attached to Zen and asks it to release him. This puts the specter on full alert, and it prepares to attack her. It immediately starts chasing her, and Miko flees the room, stopping in the hallway with her back to the specter. However, just at that moment, the kitsune foxes appear to rescue her and strike the specter, leaving it seriously injured. Finally, the dying specter goes to Zen's room to see her son one last time, and at that moment he asks what she is doing there and says he thought she had already left. The specter thought he was seeing her for the first time, so she decides to get closer to him. We then discover that he was not addressing the specter, but Miko, who was at the entrance of the room. Realizing this, we see the specter's human form for the first time, and upon realizing her son was referring to Miko and not her, she becomes enraged and prepares to attack Miko again, this time to really harm her. Immediately after, the kitsune foxes definitively finish off the specter, thus exhausting Miko's only chance to be saved in the future, as she has clearly used up her 3 opportunities. As a result of this incident, Miko begins to cry, realizing she has lost the kitsune foxes on her side. Witnessing this, the professor reflects on how peculiar Miko is. Shortly after, Yuria and Hana burst into the professor's room, making a lot of noise. At this, Yuria reminds Hana that they must remain calm and be quiet, as they are in a hospital. Consequently, Hana approaches the professor to express her relief at seeing him well. However, she warns him that he should be more careful when performing such feats, as he could have traumatized Miko if things had turned out worse. She also mentions that her friend is so worried she even started to cry. Then Miko interrupts her and asks if she came to visit the professor or to scold him. Zen apologizes and admits that, as he mentioned before, he should have been more cautious. He also adds that Miko is not to blame for any of what is happening. At that moment, Miko realizes that all the spirits that were harassing him are disappearing. She doesn't know if it's because his mother is no longer there or because of Hana's aura, but the truth is, she feels relieved that they can finally rest in peace. Later, they head outside the hospital, and Yuria mentions that it is rumored that spirits haunt those with whom they sympathize. Perhaps the reason why so many spirits surrounded Professor Zen was because he clearly attracted them, but not in the same way Hana does. She then apologizes for having been on the verge of revealing everything to Hana and asks if she prefers that she doesn't find out. Miko then confirms that this is the case, as if Hana knew she would be very scared. A week later, Professor Zen is at Miko's house looking for the cat he rescued. Meanwhile, her brother Kyosuke can be seen in the background, crying for the cat he was taking care of and had clearly already named. At this scene, Zen asks if she is sure she wants to give it to him. She replies that he shouldn't pay attention to what he's seeing. Her brother called his friend Nikomaru for the last time, but his mom tells him that's enough of a tantrum. Then, Zen takes the kitten and tells him he will soon show him his new home, which he has decided to name Mocha. Later, Miko is at a cafe with Hana and informs her that Zen plans to move because his current residence does not allow any pets. Hana is surprised and comments to Miko that this could be considered a display of true love. However, she finds it difficult to imagine Zen suddenly showing so much affection towards a cat. Miko then explains that a friend of the professor will take care of the cat while he finds a new place to live. Immediately after, Hana is surprised to discover that Zen has a friend and adds that he is a bit clumsy and somewhat creepy. Miko asks her not to be so harsh on him. Then Hana asks why, if she was also afraid of him. However, Miko assures her that from now on, she will never be afraid of him again. In a change of scene, we see Zen reflecting on the meaning of the last words Miko said to him. She shouted at the spectre, not him, to release him, but since Zen could not see the ghost, he interprets that the message was addressed to him. At that instant, the professor's neighbor calls him to offer him some of her leftover stew, and he reflects and thinks that perhaps what Miko meant is that he should be more honest. For the first time, he opens the door completely and explains to his neighbor that he doesn't actually like receiving food prepared by others. This is due to his insecurity that he might find a hair in the food and his dislike of keeping other people's containers as he thinks they smell bad. Despite this, he expresses his gratitude for having thought of him for so many years and informs her that he will be moving soon. Later, Miko and Hana go to the cinema to see My Neighbor, Totoro, and Miko asks Hana if she didn't invite Yuria. Hana replies that it would be unfair to invite her to see the second part if she hasn't even seen the first movie yet. However, we can observe that Yuria is a huge fan of My Neighbor Totoro and has already seen the first movie numerous times. She then wonders if Miko and Hana have already gone to the cinema to see the second part, as she intends to invite them to see it. Next, we observe a person who is mistreating cats, cornering a mother with her kittens. Suddenly, Zen shocks him with a taser, and immediately after, the abuser's face appears on the streets as a missing person. Afterwards, we receive news from Zen that Professor Aoi has given birth. This news excites the girls very much, and they begin to make plans to go visit her. While walking down the hallway, Miko realizes that she has not yet thanked the Kitsune foxes for having saved her on several occasions and decides that she should visit the temple soon. Finally, we observe that Miko now finds it easier to ignore the specters and that her school life proceeds without problems alongside her friends. However, we hear the chimes of the Kitsune foxes and wonder what they expect from Miko for having helped her on 3 occasions. Meanwhile, they remain waiting in her shadow. And so the anime ends.